When it comes to those contract standoffs between a football team and one of its biggest stars, the funny thing is you already know how the story ends. It's like having the last scene of a movie spoiled before you even sit down with the popcorn. You can try to make it dramatic, you can follow every twist, but deep down, you already know where it's going to land. And yet here we are, watching this play out between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Cam Hayward. The veteran defensive lineman spoke to reporters after practice at St. Vincent College. And let me tell you, there was zero hesitation in his tone. He made it perfectly clear that he still wants his contract restructured. He admitted he's in a hold-in situation and even went as far as saying he's prepared to miss regular season games, if that's what it takes to get the deal he believes he deserves. That's not a casual statement from a guy like Cam. It's a line in the sand. Listening to him, you could feel how personal this has become. He laid it out. In his eyes, the numbers just don't match the value he brings. He pointed out that he ranks outside the top 20 at his position in pay, and when you consider what he's done for this team on and off the field, that stings for him. He even mentioned that when he signed his last contract, he told the team that if he had an all-pro year, they should expect him to come back to the table. Now, some folks might chuckle at that, but for Cam, it was motivation. Here's the thing, though, and this is where I step back from agreeing with him. There's a system in place for situations like this. It's called contract negotiation. If you've got an agent who's worth even a fraction of the commission you're paying them, they'll make sure your contract has built-in triggers for these exact scenarios. Incentives for awards, options to reopen the deal after a certain performance level, or even just a short-term bet-on-yourself contract. Cam didn't do that. He signed for multiple years. And that's the kind of decision that comes with trade-offs. It also felt a little awkward hearing that he told management about his all-pro expectations and used their smirks as fuel. Not because you can't use doubt as motivation, athletes do that all the time, but because the Steelers didn't exactly sign him with hesitation. Let's not forget, they committed a hefty sum to him coming off a significant injury. They took that risk because they trusted him. They weren't betting against him. So this idea that he had to prove them wrong doesn't quite fit the reality. Still, here's the big point. None of this really matters in the grand scheme. All the quotes, all the social media reactions, all the fan debates, it's all noise. Because this will get resolved. It always does with guys like Cam. It doesn't matter what I think, or what you think, or even what Cam thinks at this point. And it doesn't matter if anyone in the Steelers front office is privately annoyed. Omar Khan, Mike Tomlin, Art Rooney. These are people who have a history of handling their stars with a soft touch. That's not an insult. It's just reality. They'll play the long game, let emotions cool, and eventually hand him a deal that keeps him happy. We've seen this movie before. Remember TJ Watt? Everyone knew he was going to become the highest paid defender in some way, and the team quietly worked it out despite a few odd social media moments from TJ along the way. This is the same script. Cam can stomp his feet figuratively, make his point, and the Steelers will eventually pay him. And yes, it might set a precedent for other players to try the same thing, but the organization won't lose sleep over that. They love their stars, and they take care of them. That's why I say it's like walking into a movie where the ending is already playing in the opening credits. You can sit through the tension, but you already know the conclusion. Cam will get what he wants. It's just a matter of how long they want to drag out the middle act. What's interesting is that while the contract talk grabs headlines, there's another layer to this. Some fans are frustrated, calling it selfish for a team captain to hold in when there are 2 years left on his deal. Others defend him, saying his pay is out of step with his performance in the last season, which, let's be honest, was still excellent despite the injuries he battled. The split in opinion is wide. Some are disillusioned, some are loyal, and some are just tired of the whole saga. But here's a reality check. The next wave of defensive linemen, guys like Keanu Benton and DeMarvin Leal, aren't ready to be Cam Hayward yet. They have potential, sure, and they're learning fast. But potential isn't the same as being a pro bowl-caliber leader on the field right now. You can't just replace that overnight. I spoke to some of these young players after practice, and you can hear it in their voices. They're soaking it all in, try to adjust to the speed of the NFL, trying to refine their technique. They're excited, they're motivated, but they're still in the learning phase. Expecting them to step into Cam's role tomorrow is unrealistic. That's part of why this situation will end the way I think it will. The Steelers know what they have in Cam, and they know they don't have his replacement just yet. This isn't about letting a player walk because you've got the next man up ready to go. This is about making sure the guy who's been the heart of your defensive line stays on the field while your young guys develop. And you know what really underlines this whole Cam Hayward saga? It's that fans can swing from admiration to frustration at lightning speed. I've seen messages from people who used to call Cam their favorite Steeler, now saying they're done with him because they think he's putting money ahead of winning. That's the emotional whiplash of sports fandom. One week, a player's a hero. The next, he's the guy you want gone. But if you take the heat out of the conversation and look at it from the team's perspective, it's not so simple. The Steelers don't see Cam as a replaceable piece. They see him as part of the fabric of their locker room, the kind of veteran who sets a tone that young players absorb whether they realize it or not. That's why letting him go or letting the situation fester in a bad blood was never really on the table. The part that gets overlooked is the human side of this business. Cam's been doing this for over a decade. He's poured his body into this game, and he's at a point where he knows the end is closer than the beginning. When players reach that stage, they start thinking about legacy, yes, but also about maximizing the value of the years they have left. That's not greed. That's the reality of a career where one wrong step can end it all. For him, that means making sure his contract reflects what he believes he's worth right now, not just what the paper said when he signed it last year. The problem is that football isn't like other jobs. You can't just renegotiate every time you feel underpaid, unless you've got the leverage to make it happen. And Cam knows he has leverage because the Steelers' defensive line, without him, would be a different animal entirely. That's where the Holdin comes in. He's still at camp, he's still in meetings, he's still a visible leader, but he's not taking part in everything physically the way he would if this was already resolved. That allows him to send a message without completely cutting himself off from the team. It's a careful balance, enough to push the point, not so much that it burns bridges. And honestly, this isn't the first time the Steelers have dealt with this approach. They've been through it with other stars, and their track record is that they don't take it personally. They let the business side play out until both parties can walk away saying they won. Now, some people think that's soft. They want the team to draw a hard line, tell the player you signed it, you play on it, and that's the end of the story. But in Pittsburgh, that's rarely how it goes for players who've been part of the core for as long as Cam has. They bend. They adjust. They find ways to meet somewhere in the middle. And more often than not, it works out because the player responds by giving everything he's got once it's settled. That's the bet the team is making here. That Cam's professionalism and pride will keep him performing at a high level even after he gets the raise he's asking for. But I get why it's a tough pill for some fans, especially when the defense has young guys waiting for their shot. Take someone like Keanu Benton. He's got size, quickness, and the right mentality, but he's still adapting to the speed of the NFL game. After practice, I asked him what stood out from his first real action against starters, and you could see the mix of excitement and realism in his eyes. He talked about adjusting to the pace, fine-tuning his first move, getting better at winning early in the rep. That's a guy who's hungry, but also still learning the difference between a good snap in college and a good snap in the pros. And that's the gap Cam bridges for the Steelers. He's the guy who already knows what to do in those moments and can anchor the line when everything's moving fast. It's the same story with other young players in that rotation. They're physically gifted, they've got flashes of big playability, but they don't yet have the consistency that comes from years of NFL snaps. Cam brings that consistency. He also brings a presence in the huddle and on the sideline that you can't teach. That's part of his value, even if it doesn't show up in stat sheets. So while fans might look at the money and say pay someone younger, the team looks at the total picture and sees the gap between having him and not having him. That gap is why I think this ends with him getting his way. And if you want proof of how much the Steelers value that kind of presence, just look at how they handled T.J. Watt's deal. They didn't just make him the highest paid in his category. They made sure to get it done before it became a distraction. They'll do the same here, even if it means eating a little pride in the process. And yes, it might open the door for other veterans to try the same move in the future, but that's the trade-off you accept when you choose to take care of your stars. It's a culture choice as much as a business choice. This is why I say we're all just watching the middle act of a play where the ending is already written. The only real unknown is the exact number of zeros that get added to the deal. Everything else is just posturing. The quotes in the media, the carefully worded responses from the team, the debates on sports talk radio, it's all theater. Necessary theater, maybe, but theater nonetheless. And through all this, training camp keeps rolling. The heat's been brutal, the practices have been long, and Mike Tomlin hasn't eased up one bit. He's pushing the young guys, he's keeping the veterans sharp, and he's building the kind of conditioning that pays off in December. You can see which players are starting to rise, which ones are fading into the background, and which ones are still figuring out where they fit. That's the beauty of camp. It's not just about the stars, it's about the battles for roster spots, the guys fighting to make an impression in a limited window. For the defensive line, that means every rep matters. Without Cam fully participating, the others are getting more chances to run with the starters. That's valuable experience, but it's also a reminder of how big the shoes are that they'd have to fill if he weren't there on game day. And that reality isn't lost on anyone in the building. It's one thing to watch a clip of a guy dominating in college. It's another to line up against an NFL Pro Bowler and feel the difference in power, technique, and awareness. That's why replacing a player like Cam isn't just about finding someone with the right measurables. It's about finding someone who can process the game at that level in real time. So while the fan base debates whether Cam is right or wrong, the truth is that the Steelers' decision-makers already know the answer. Until then, we'll keep hearing from both sides, we'll keep reading into every little gesture at practice, and we'll keep pretending the ending is still in doubt. But trust me, it's not. This is a franchise that knows how to take care of its stars, and Cam Hayward is still very much one of them. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers around the NFL universe have been growing louder, as an explosive rumor suggests that Tyreek Hill, one of the most electrifying wide receivers in the league, is on the verge of becoming the biggest signing in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. If this hearsay holds any truth, it would mark an unprecedented moment for the Steelers, a franchise known for its strategic acquisitions and measured moves. The possibility of Hill donning the black and gold colors is creating a palpable buzz not only among fans, but also within the media, analysts, and rival teams. Hill's combination of speed, agility, and playmaking ability has made him a game-changer wherever he has played, and the mere prospect of him joining Pittsburgh seems to signal a shift in the team's ambitions. The Steelers, historically recognized for their defensive prowess, might be looking to inject some serious offensive firepower, and Hill fits the bill perfectly. The rumor, although unconfirmed, paints a picture of a franchise ready to make a bold statement in a competitive AFC landscape. The potential signing is already stirring debates about how the Steelers would restructure their offense and what this move might mean for their championship aspirations. The Steelers haven't made such a splash in free agency for years, and Tyreek Hill's name being associated with their roster is stirring speculation and excitement in equal measure. Reports indicate that if Tyreek Hill's move to Pittsburgh materializes, it will be the most significant financial commitment the Steelers have ever made to a single player, eclipsing previous deals that shaped the franchise's roster. The rumored contract would place Hill not only as the highest-paid player on the team, but also potentially as one of the top earners in the entire league. This possible financial leap suggests a strategic pivot for the Steelers, who traditionally have maintained a disciplined salary cap approach. Industry insiders speculate that this aggressive move could be aimed at keeping pace with other AFC powerhouses, signaling Pittsburgh's intent to compete at the highest level in the coming seasons. Such a high-profile signing would naturally come with expectations, and the pressure on Hill to deliver consistent, game-changing performances would be immense. The Steelers' front office, known for balancing veteran leadership with emerging talent, might view Hill as the missing piece to ignite a more dynamic and explosive offense. Should this signing go through, it would not only be a landmark moment for the Steelers, but also shake the landscape of the NFL free agency market. Rumors like these often create ripple effects, influencing other teams' decisions and player negotiations across the league. Speculation around Tyreek Hill's potential arrival in Pittsburgh has sparked a frenzy among fans and commentators who are envisioning how his unique skill set could revolutionize the Steelers' offensive scheme. Hill's unparalleled speed and ability to create separation from defenders make him a nightmare matchup for any defense. And Pittsburgh's existing roster already includes talented quarterbacks capable of maximizing Hill's talents. The synergy between Hill and a potential quarterback like Kenny Pickett is a hot topic in sports circles, with many suggesting that Hill's presence could elevate the team's passing game to elite status. Additionally, Hill's knack for explosive plays on special teams adds another dimension that the Steelers could exploit, further complicating defensive game plans against them. The ripple effect of such a signing extends beyond on-field performance. It could also boost ticket sales, merchandise, and overall fan engagement, revitalizing a franchise with a rich history, but facing stiff competition in the AFC North. The buzz surrounding this possible acquisition also prompts discussions about how other teams in the division will respond, potentially triggering a domino effect of roster moves and strategic adjustments. The rumor, if confirmed, could signify a bold new era for the Steelers, one defined by high-octane offense and renewed playoff ambitions. Behind closed doors, sources hint that the Steelers' leadership has been actively pursuing Tyreek Hill for months, carefully crafting a proposal that would not only secure his services, but also fit within the team's long-term vision. This approach highlights a meticulous negotiation process, emphasizing that the rumor is more than just idle talk and might be on the brink of becoming reality. The franchise's history of strategic signings and player development suggests that they would not commit to such a landmark deal without thorough evaluation of the risks and rewards. Hill's injury history and contract demands could have been significant factors in the drawn-out talks, but the Steelers appear willing to make bold moves in pursuit of championship success. Internal discussions reportedly revolve around how Hill's inclusion would complement existing offensive weapons, potentially creating one of the most formidable passing attacks in the league. The rumor also hints at potential roster shifts and salary cap adjustments that could follow Hill's arrival, illustrating the ripple effects a signing of this magnitude could unleash. While the official confirmation remains elusive, the persistent chatter within NFL circles indicates that the Steelers are preparing for a game-changing offseason, with Hill possibly at its center. As the rumor mill churns and the NFL offseason progresses, the possibility of Tyreek Hill becoming the Steelers' biggest signing ever continues to dominate conversations in sports media and among fans alike. This potential blockbuster deal not only reflects the evolving nature of the NFL, where star players command increasingly lucrative contracts, but also the Steelers' renewed commitment to competing at the highest level. If the deal comes to fruition, it would symbolize a significant shift in the team's philosophy, embracing a more aggressive approach in free agency and talent acquisition. This move could redefine the Steelers' identity in the coming years, positioning them as serious contenders in a fiercely competitive conference. The narrative around this possible signing also raises questions about how the Steelers will balance their storied defensive legacy with a newly energized offensive core. Speculation about the impact on team dynamics, coaching strategies, and overall performance intensifies, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation. While nothing is certain until an official announcement is made, the rumor alone has already left an indelible mark on the offseason discourse, fueling hopes and debates across the football community. Whether Tyreek Hill ultimately becomes the Steelers' biggest signing ever or not, the buzz surrounding this rumor underscores the franchise's enduring allure and ambition in the modern NFL landscape. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.